Hello and welcome, everybody, to episode 32 of Last Week in Quantum. I'm your host, Bill Roth. This is the show where we review this week's news in the world of quantum computing, its impacts on the world of cybersecurity, AI, and more. And with us to discuss this week is Brandon Dennis, Director of Operations at QuSecure. Brandon, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
And the ever avuncular and convivial Pete Ford, head of federal operations at QuSecure, a noted TEDx speaker. Welcome, Pete.
Good to be here, Bill. PD.
So this week, we are going to do a special one article episode. And we have an article from the IBM Institute for Business Value. The quantum clock is ticking. How quantum safe is your organization? Oh, let's unpeel this particular quantum onion by talking to our experts. Brandon, give us an overview of what the article's about.
Man, there's a lot packed into this one. The summary is, in partnership with GSMA, IBM explores why quantum safe computing and cybersecurity must become board-level considerations. I'm going to leave it at that, and Mr. Pete, break that one down for us.
I tell you what, if there was an article that you don't skim, it's this one. So I read it, reread it, taking notes, pulling quotes, phenomenal. And Ray, we met him. I didn't get a chance to meet him, or I would probably still be taking notes and following him around like a little puppy dog. This is a good one and covers basically the A to Z of what's coming on and why and how to get ready for it in a step-by-step methodical process. Phenomenal article.
Awesome. Well, so break it down. You talked about a number of things last week relative to the article, and you had a really interesting metaphor, which was sort of about the three lanes. Maybe tell us, how should we think about this, and what are the sort of salient elements for us?
Yep. So if you remember the three lanes, when somebody says quantum, rather than you can see people go to their happy place and eyes roll back, or some people start sucking their thumbs, or other people are looking for bourbon or whiskey just so they can make it through the moment. And I break it down into three lanes so you can see which one is applicable to me, which one is fun to watch and learn and stretch your physics knowledge. How close and far are we going to be to sensing? So it's quantum computing, quantum comm, which is QKD, and post-quantum comm or quantum encryption capability, and quantum sensing. In this focused paper, really excellent, 35 pages, this is all about post-quantum encryption. Now, they're looking at that lane correctly, and matter of fact, one of the three things they recommend is have subject matter experts that study that lane, whether they live over here in post-quantum world or not, with the thick glasses and the ho-hos and ding-dongs, and they're just busy hacking away with making sure qubits are going where they need to and error correction, et cetera, or not. I know you're going to laugh at the ho-hos and ding-dongs, right? It should be energy drinks, whatever the new ones are nowadays. But have a subject matter expert that knows what's coming out of that's going to affect me. This one is center lane on near-term action. That was the other two that I broke down, right? There's the three lanes. And the two questions I ask when I look at an article is, okay, is this for action or for learning? And is it near term or is it far term? They address both of those. This is for both action, right the heck now, and it's near term because far term you're not ready for. Matter of fact, you need to recognize that near term was 10 years ago. That's the wake-up call. That's the title of the article, the quantum clock is ticking. What they really meant to say was, we've already passed the first three rounds of this quantum boxing match, and you're losing. You need to put your gloves on and recognize you're taking punches. So it is awesome. And they do it in the nicest business-like way. And my good old-fashioned fighter pilot world is like, you've been killed 3 times. Or when are you going to take off and actually try to land versus getting shot? So it is really good. And the way they go through it is phenomenal to me. So if we go through it, there's every page has got something in it that's worth looking at. The key takeaways is awesome. It really, when you think about it, one, it's board level concern. I completely agree. By the way, we're at getting in QuSecure, we're fielding questions at board levels all the time. And similarly, we're fielding questions down at the individual worker that's an innovative consumer or an agile player that's trying to get through middle management and AOP and recurring revenue on why this is going to be so important for us, and the revenue is going to stop if you don't. The board has been asking a question: can we get you here in the middle to go, I think I should put some money against this, and I think I should probably be agile and nimble and adept at what I'm doing. So that's what they're saying in at least the first 5 and 6 pages, which is awesome. And then they give you some great resources in there. One of the other things I didn't give on the last week in quantum, last week in quantum, was when you get a paper like this, or you get an extensive paper that's not just an article that you can see, and you see the resources or you see the sources that they quote, one of the first things I do to go, is this new and does it force action on me, as I look at the date of who they're sourcing. And every one of the dates, minus a couple of the sourcing page, I think it's page 35 here, are within the last 2 days, or sorry, 2 years. I wish it was 2 days. They're all referencing real time, near term. I'm a subject matter expert. I pulled this chunk of wisdom out, and I'd like you to make a meal with it. So that is really significant. That's why I applaud these authors. And by the way, I'm already following them. And then they give credit also to the other players they're working at. As you dig down in deeper, one of the things that I and Shujith, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name, Shujith. I know Ray, and I think I got his last name, and phenomenal players. On page 8 of this, they go into pieces and parts of how they are describing, one, quantum safe champions, people, board level players, etc. But then what are you doing as far as what we, IBM, and I like it, it makes sense. It is a methodical, what they call QRSI. Okay, that's not me as a former military guy, just MUA. MUA is making up acronyms.
There you go.
And that's funny, and I know funny. So I'm not making up acronyms. That was these guys. So it turns out if you're looking for something sexy, make up an acronym about it. So they made up QSRI. So that's a quantum safe readiness index. And then they give you a scoring matrix inside of that on going, hey, how close are you? In our view, I'm going to give you a grade, and I'll look at you and ask you some questions, and I'll determine where you are as a quantum safe champion, i.e. your board level executive players. Have you ever heard of learning with errors? Do you understand what a qubit error reduction rate is? Do you understand the non-stochastic processing that a quantum computer is going to do and where they're going to focus it? They ask those type questions. Kind of your, I go back to Animal House, where the guys are sitting there in front of whatever it is, Dean Smeltz or whatever his name is, and he goes, Blutarski, 0.0. He goes, dang it, 4 years of college right down the drain. So they're actually standing in front of the dean when they go, are you a quantum safe champion? I love it. Now I don't think Ray has ever probably even watched Animal House, or maybe he has, in which case I'm going to buy him a drink. But that's what they're looking at, is let us give you a grade and determine if you're a quantum safe champion. If not, can you please recognize there is such a one and you want to be it? And then they look at your organization and go, when your organization does these 3 things, discover, observe, the next piece of what we want to do, and then transform. And they break down 14 readiness indicators for where you are in that and your readiness to step into the quantum age. So that to me, one of the pieces of page 8 is significant for us. As QSecure, I look at that and I go, in the discovery part of this whole thing, in other words, you're just foraging around and trying to figure out where you are in this. The last part says, as you go through all the extent of your exposure, you look at, do you even understand the cryptography you currently have? You're looking at the dependencies you have, and really the second and third level of dependencies of cryptography or subsystems that may not work together. The last one is, have you aligned vendors that you want to use to govern and put security around your cryptography? Ta-da! Welcome to QProtect. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we have put in place with a single UI control plane that brings orchestrated vendor and security and cryptography in a single control plane and gives you not just a discovery, but the observability with it, so you can start putting those in the right place with the seamless transition without loss of data and without loss of information technology flow and time. So that's significant. The next one, observability, is these are very valid. Deploy a telemetry solution. Please just tell us what you're doing and put some telemetry on it to see if all your pipes are open. Just like checking every plug in your house. Oh, nothing there, going to have to reset the breaker. Nothing there, that's not even a plug. I don't know where that goes. Then they talk about going to some next steps is use AI-based rules to help your decision making. In other words, if you're too slow and you just can't make a decision, maybe you can just offload some of those harder decisions to a large language model or a neural net or a cognitive machine learned type understanding that will give you options. Because right now, you can't find your butt with both hands. That'll help you. That's a funny joke and nobody laughed. And then the last one to me is implement a common ongoing governance mechanisms. That's why when you look at our control plane, you look at what we put in a beautiful GUI too, we give you those opportunities, like the milestone 9 that we have coming out with the cryptographic bill of materials, where we can get down to each individual Kubernetes cluster to tell you if it comes with the right static or ephemeral key encapsulation method. If not, roll it to this one so you're ready. That one's low compute, so get to a different algorithm. Don't just be stuck on one, or change the length of key that you're using. That's observability. And then the last one, transforming, that's full of, now you're a quantum safe champion. And to me, one of the bigger ones for us is identify solutions and approaches to support quantum safe cryptography. At least know it's out there, and identify which ones match for you. That's why we give you options of all the NIST algorithms. And by the way, when somebody breaks a NIST algorithm, which will happen, especially with learning with errors and what we talked about last week in one of those articles where we're using GPUs and QPUs, remember the Q that we talked about? Those are going to break algorithms. In which case, if you're anchored on one and you don't have agility or resiliency to flow to the next algorithm, you're jonesed. So get ready, be nimble, and be adept at it. And then the next one is validate products that are incorporating the new cryptography. That's what we want you to do. Validate us. Get in there, test and evaluate, R&D on what's coming next. We're trying to get it better and make it better, and it's only better when you use it. So it was phenomenal. Page 8 is a deep page, but I think the 3 parts, the first part is create a competitive advantage. In other words, what do I need to invest in? And have a strategy about my investment. Perfect. In other words, look at the lay of the land, see what we want to do. How much of this quantum safe champion apple do we want to bite the first time? And what's our plan to eat the whole apple? The next one is get and establish and recognize we want quantum safe champions, and we want them to get more than a 33%. We'd like them to be up here at 80 to 100% because they're giving us good indications, and we're going to take their subject matter experts' advice on what we do and readjust our strategy and readjust our investment. So that's the part 2. And then the last one is, and this is like a flashing exclamation point, become crypto resilient. Okay, so that for us is exactly what we say in QuSecure. We say, look, orchestrated crypto agility is resiliency. If you're stuck on one, you're reactive. When you have agility and it's orchestrated as an investment and a strategy, or I can orchestrate my cryptography so I can put the right quantum resistant encryption algorithms in place on my existing system to my advantage and to the adversary's disadvantage, I have got resiliency. That means you're nimble. That page 12 that goes into part 1, there's a little quiet footnote in there under the figure where they give you nice little figures that marketing guys love to give you figures so you can go, hey, look, I'm in the 75 percentile. It actually says quantum safe champions, the people that are paying attention to this, that have subject matter experts that actually read the article and understand what to do about it, they outperform their peers on other key performance measures.
Mm.
In other words, yes, we're looking at this. We've got a view of what's ahead of us. And by the way, if you look at the way we do business, no wonder we're a Fortune 10 company or a Fortune 30 company or a Fortune 100 company with all of the other operating procedures and profit we get. It's because we have a view to the future. No wonder we outperform you. We have a better investment strategy, subject matter expert focus on where we're going. It's basically saying you're going to make a lot more money and you're not going to lose the money you've already put investment in.
This is one of the reasons why I like this article. As somebody who's run a large organization before, it gives you the organizational view of how I should think about my organizational development, how I should think about the readiness of these large groups of people from an organizational design perspective. And then it gives me the framework to understand the execution. And so I got another reason why this is sort of a solid article, not to mention, as you said, in many ways, the bibliography and the references provide you with your quantum book club reading list. So I think, again, really, really solid piece, and more stuff for our listeners to pay attention to.
Yeah. And the second part too, I think if you're looking at that, is talking about subject matter experts, and it's really talk about developing the talent. I go back to if I'm looking to hire somebody in an organization that's going to deal with this, and it's not just the telco side, and that's what they use words like hurtling toward this. Okay, you generally don't hurtle towards something happily. It's because you're being launched or pushed into something, and you're not ready to be there. So this is an intentional focus to get there, which means when I hire somebody or I put in my talent resource piece to get human resources to bring me the right play, I'm not looking at just niche one or two people. I'm looking at people that understand that this quantum world, the quantum resiliency, quantum encryption that we're talking about, and quantum safe champion, this isn't a niche offhanded question we ask in the HR, should I hire you? This is everybody in the organization has this level of capability. Do we want you in our organization? Do you understand that there's 3 lanes of quantum? Do you understand what we're doing in this lane and that these other lanes affect us? It's actually talking about how you hire and why you're hiring, because you're trying to get more advantage in the future and you're trying to disadvantage adversaries or other companies. That's why we want to hire you. So it's really a hiring and a talent pool, which means we need to get the talent pool up to speed. And in order to get the talent pool up to speed, I have to have a demand signal from the board and other executives that go, can somebody please spell quantum right and not get a 0 in Blutarski's land? So
I was going to say it is true, because what you've got is more and more you've got boards are being tasked to manage risk, and they're actually being there are now mandates as to how to manage an alert on risk. And so this plays into something that more and more boards and more executive teams are going to be managed on. And, the risk is real. The threat is real. And I think this is a great article that talks about sort of how to think about your organization, how to think about your people. And by the way, QuSecure, we've got some solutions for you.
Yeah. And I think if you're staying with us here and you're digging in and you're willing to read the article and you're looking at it and you are thinking about the sources that they're choosing, you're going to anchor on page 30, i.e. you're a quantum safe champion. Congratulations. You're not Blutarski in the dean's office. You've actually passed your courses and you're ready. You're going to look at the timeline that they lay out on page 30. And it really only goes back to 2022, and it goes through 2026 and beyond. And it says, this is what resiliency should look like. You're considering these regulatory milestones. You're considering the services at IBM and maybe even others. You're considering a quantum safe technology roadmap and how you can get to that. i.e. your SSLs, your VPN uses, the crypto agility framework you put in place. You're intentional about your encryption. You're not like, I think I might need some encryption. Can somebody go buy some? And then you're thinking about key certificate and management that ties with that in the subsystem. And then you're actually digging into which algorithms, which protocols, which standards, which libraries am I using that match why I've purchased and put in place what I have. And then do I have the infrastructure that's going to be sustainable beyond it? Those pieces line up with their quantum safe resilience or readiness indicators, the 14 they have on page 30 in time. So you're methodical about what you're doing, not just haphazardly hurtling into the new quantum world we live in. So yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, and folks, so if you find yourself hurtling, be careful. Be careful out there. One does not want to hurtle, as we've heard. So, folks, that's all for today's show. I just wanted to remind you, you can find the link for today's article in the show notes. It's as where in all of our episodes, that's where the articles go. And if you want weekly quantum updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcasts on Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and more. Stay up to date with the latest news in quantum with Last Week in Quantum. I'm your host, Bill Roth, and with us this week has been, as always, Brandon Dennis, Director of Operations, and special guest and academic reviewer of the day, Pete Ford, Head of Federal Operations, QuSecure, and noted TEDx speaker. Thank you both.
Bill, thanks.
You bet.
Thanks, gentlemen.
We'll see you next week on Last Week in Quantum.